So a number of things on the agenda for tonight. Tell me a little bit about what we can anticipate for this evening.
Well, during communications, we'll be hearing from Maggie Downing. She's the administrator to the Cape Compact, and she will be giving an overview of the energy efficient plan for 2016 to 2018, the three-year plan, as well as an overview of the grid modernization. So she has a PowerPoint presentation to present to Council.
Great, and of course the Cape Light Compact, a regional entity that does take a look at those energy efficiency and many other energy-related items for residents and businesses on Cape Cod.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Indeed, and then a couple of other presentations as well.
The Charter Review Committee will be doing a report, and they were convened earlier in the year. And the charter hadn't been reviewed or any changes since 1995. And when I charged the committee, I wasn't looking at substantial changes to the charter and not looking for a full charter commission process, which requires voters to sign on to that and have that process take place. This is more of an in-house look at it procedurally, some even typographical errors in the charter, and kind of a look at the updating. We're not looking to deal with the composition or the mode of selection or term of office of the council or the manager, or which can only be achieved through special legislation or the full charter commission process. So they've been meeting, and we'll hear from Chairman Cullum.
Great.
On charter review.
Sure, looking forward to hearing that. And then the parking committee is going to make a report as well.
As well, yes. And their charge was to develop some interim and long-term parking strategies to address the several open-air parking lots in and around the Hyannis Harbor area specifically, not only town-owned but privately owned. And again, we'll be hearing from Councilor Cullum, who's the chair on that committee as well. So
excellent.
Those two reports.
Lots of reports for Councilor Cullum this evening. So, and then under old business, starting out with an appropriation order. Tell me about this appropriation order.
The appropriation, that's for up to $34,999 for the purpose of hiring an outside consultant for a town manager search. And this came out of the search committee, and this is to procure a professional town manager consultant, and this was done through our procurement with the assistance of Joanna Boucher, our chief procurement officer.
Great.
And bids were put out, and we'll be hearing from the chair of that committee as well as from Joanna with regards to this appropriation. This will assist the council in hiring a town manager.
And that will be up for a public hearing as well.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, last council meeting, we heard from our finance director, Mark Milne, and director of assessing, Jeff Rudziak, who always do a phenomenal job of presenting this complex municipal finance issue of the tax levy, and this is something that is up for a vote tonight as well.
That's right. There's tax factors, the residential exemption, and lastly, the small commercial exemption, those three. And these are all public hearings as well. I expect there'll be further questions from councilors, and Mark Milne and Jeff Rusniak will answer those. This is tools for shifting the tax levy. It doesn't change the tax levy, it just shifts it in certain categories. And as you know, residential exemption, it's more like a progressive tax. This has been adopted by the council for the past 10 years. This is a 20% residential exemption up to properties up to $920,000 in value. And the tax factor, we've always voted a tax factor of 1 as opposed to a split rate, putting more on commercial and residential. And then the commercial exemption, and vote to the last one is vote to adopt a small commercial exemption of 10% for fiscal year. And in the past 9 years, we voted not to adopt the small business exemption.
Right, and from what I understand, really wouldn't have that big of a benefit for our business owners here in the town of Barnstable.
No, it's you've got to be assessed under $1 million, and all the property has to be occupied with businesses with less than 10 employees, and I mean there's some pretty tight constraints on that. So a vote of no on that one has been had for the last 10 years.
Great. And then a couple of other items under old business appointments and reappointments to boards, committees, and commissions.
That's right. The Cultural Council, that's an appointment, and Human Services Committee. And then for first reading under new business, we have appointments, and the Appointments Committee for the past several months has been interviewing applicants, and this is to get the Water Resources Advisory Committee up and running. And they will assist in the DPW Director, Dan Santos, and the town in putting forth our wastewater, comprehensive wastewater plan according to the 208 redo. So this is a brand new committee. And we've got the Appointments Committee tried to populate that committee with varying villages represented, north side, south side, and in the middle too, those without waterfront, but more. And there are there'll be 3 counselors appointed to that committee as liaison, and I expect that committee will be up and running at the first of the year.
Wonderful. And then lots of familiar names looking at that list, a good group for that particular charge. So looking at the next item, a grant for $60,000 for distressed properties identification and revitalization.
Yeah, this grant was initially sought by Town Manager's Office in 2013, and at that time the Town Council adopted the suite of ordinances to address problem properties. That's Chapter 224. And the legal department actually monitors the registry of deeds for foreclosures and then contacts the foreclosing bank. As distressed properties are revitalized, neighborhoods are stabilized, and property values are increased, the match for this grant will continue to be the inspections by the various town divisions to bring those foreclosed properties into compliance with the state sanitary and building codes.
Great. And the next, an appropriation for CPC funds for open space at 230 Old Colony Road here.
Yeah, that's referring to a public hearing on December 3rd, and this is a parcel of a little over 2 acres, and that came through the community preservation, and it's located at the headwaters of Snow Creek in the Lewis Bay area of Hyannis. So that will come for a public hearing in December.
Great. And then a nice big grant for the Barnstable Senior Services Division, an annual grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, about $115,000 coming to senior services. Yeah,
and Madeline Noonan, our Director of Senior Services, will be presenting this. There's no immediate financial impact to this grant, which is what it does is it continues to provide monies for adequate personnel to ensure the delivery of the programs and services at the senior center. It will fully fund the activity coordinator, the marketing coordinator, and partially fund the outreach coordinator and custodial positions, and also offset some operating expenses with regards to the newsletter and mailings and repairs and maintenance of their Silver Express vans.